it's just been a while since I've done a video talking about the books that I've read, and I got a couple. It's been a lot of romance. I just wanted light stuff. I'm currently reading Beloved by Toni Morrison, and if you read it, it's quite intense. And as I was reading it, I also started reading another book because I was just like, this is a lot and I just want to giggle right now. It's summer. I've had a lot of heaviness the past month. I told you guys about that. I just want lightness right now and just giddy, goofy, fun, silly, cute romances. So that's mostly what I read, and I'm very excited to get into it. First, I want to talk to you about a book that I read on my Kindle, and I changed up my Kindle. I took off the stickers and I put a Frida Kahlo poster behind it. So this is what it looks like. I think it's very cute and colorful. So that's that. The first book that I want to talk about, this is not in order. I think this is July and August, but I don't remember. I need to see if I can get the summary of the books that I have read. Yes, check out in store. It's a small town cowboy romance, which we love on this channel. And it is, let's see if I can show you. It's Done and Dusted by Lila Sage, is what the cover looks like in black and white. I really like the colors on these books. I like the style of the covers. You might be able to hear my chair creak a little, I'm sorry, but this was very cute. I'm going to read what's here on the Kindle store, and then I will give you my opinion. Thinking out loud always. For the first time in her life, Clementine, Emmy Ryder, has no idea what she's doing. She's accomplished everything on her to-do list. She left her small hometown for Meadowlark, Wyoming, went to college, made a career for herself by doing her favorite thing, riding horses. But after an accident makes it impossible for her to get back into the saddle. She has no choice but to return to the hometown she always wanted to escape. That's me right now, anyway. Luke Brooks is Meadowlark's most notorious bad boy, bar owner, and bachelor. He's also unofficially the 5th member of the Ryder family. As Emmy's older brother's best friend, Luke spent most of his childhood agonizing her. It's been years since he's seen her, but when she walks into his bar and back into his life, he can't take his eyes off her. Against his better judgment, he wants to do a whole lot more than just look at her. Like go to the thrift store with her is what they're talking about. As things between Emmy and Brooks heat up, it gets more difficult for him to keep his hands off of her. Can he help her get her spark back, or will they both go up in flames? I ate this up. I loved this so much. It was a slow burn, childhood friends, kind of, to lovers. It's very cute. It's a lot more, I would say this is very comparable to Elsie Silver's books, but it's a bit more gentle. So, if you've read Elsie Silver's books and you've read about the men in her books, they're kind of like, you know what they want. You know exactly what they want. And I feel like this is a little bit more subtle, which I do kind of like. And it was, I don't know, it was just so fun. I loved sorry, I just have to look up the names. Keep in mind, I read this beginning of July or something, so that's a bit hard to remember. But Emmy, who is the main character in the last book, she comes back into town. She has a best friend called Teddy, and Teddy does, I think, fashion design. But at school, she had made a friend who is the main character in this book, and her name is Ada Hart. And Ada Hart and Teddy are friends, and they met in school. And sorry, some people really hate that. Weston Ryder, so Emmy's brother, he is going to renovate one of the homes on the ranch and turn it into, I think it's like a bed and breakfast, from what I remember. And so Weston is trying to find an interior designer and everything to get this place in better shape. And so Teddy reaches out to Ada, and so Ada works for Weston. We know what happens, you know. But let me read this to you. The last thing Ada Hart needs is a man to take care of her. Period. Not anymore. After failing out of her interior design program and the disaster that was her short-lived marriage, Ada clawed her way up from the rock bottom. Now the only person she trusts is herself, and that has gotten her further than ever before. She has her own business, and one of the largest ranches in Wyoming just hired her for the most important project of her career. When Ada arrives in Meadowlark, she finds herself in a dive bar, where she can't seem to shake the eyes of a handsome cowboy. When she leads him to the back of the bar, he leaves her with a kiss that most people can only fantasize about. She almost regrets that she'll never see him again, except it turns out he's now her boss. Weston Ryder is a happy guy, even happier now that the mystery woman from this bar is the interior designer for his dream project on his family's ranch. It feels like he hit the jackpot. It's too bad she wants absolutely nothing to do with him outside of work. Ada is convinced the pull she feels towards Wes will go away, but Wes can't stop thinking about her. Even though walls are coming down around Rebel Blue, Ada's walls are firmly in place. Can they make it through this project without giving in, or will they both put their dreams on the line for a chance at love? So, this was the second story. There's a third one that comes out in October, I believe. But I really enjoyed this one too. What I like about this one was that it was a bit insta-lusty in that they meet at the bar pretty soon in the book, and they make out, and then go their separate ways, and then, oh my god, he's our boss, so it's forced proximity. It's definitely Grumpy Sunshine in that he's sunshine, she's grumpy, which I kind of like. The thing is that what I really liked about this is that Ada has kind of a cold, distant presence, but underneath that, you really get to see how she struggles with low self-esteem, just self-image issues after her last marriage, and how that affects her decisions. And I feel like Lila Sage really showed her thinking process well, and that always makes me feel more connected to a character when you really get to know how their brain works a little bit better. So she comes off kind of standoffish, but it's her insecurity that's building up that wall again. I think that a lot of people recognize that. And I It's not like that, but there is spice throughout. There's tension. So yeah, it's a good summer read. Then next I have a physical book, and then we'll switch back to Kindle and all that. And it is This Summer Will Be Different by Miss Carly Fortune. This summer will be different. This book was very, very kindly gifted to me by a very sweet subscriber who I got the opportunity of meeting from the US. Sending love. Very precious to me. This book is now covered in dust, sunscreen, grass, dirt. I took it out to the water a couple times to read it by the water, as you should with Carly Fortune novels. You need to be close to a body of water, and it has to be sunny and slightly warm for the vibes. Okay? Doctor's orders. Anyway, I was really craving a good summer romance, you know, because there are a lot of summer romances out there, but not in the way, I feel like not often in the way that Emily Henry and Carly Fortune write their summer stories, because it's just, when you open this book, you just get a whiff of sunscreen, basically, like it just, summer bounces off the page, and I love that. I know I'm very vague with my descriptions, it's just, I don't know. Okay, I'll read the back to you. Lucy is the tourist vacationing at a beach house on Prince Edward Island. Felix is the local who shows her a very good time. The only problem, Lucy doesn't know he's her best friend's younger brother. Very similar dynamic to like Swift and Saddled anyway. Lucy and Felix's chemistry is unreal, but the list of reasons why they need to stay away from each other is long, and they vow to never repeat that electric night. It's easier said than done. Each year, Lucy escapes to PEI for a big breath of coastal air, fresh oysters, and crisp vino verde. With her best friend Bridget. Every visit begins with a long walk on the beach beneath the soaring red cliffs and a golden sun. And every visit, Lucy promises herself she won't wind up in Felix's bed again. If Lucy can't help being drawn to Felix, at least she's always kept her heart out of it. When Bridget suddenly flees Toronto a week before her wedding, Lucy drops everything to follow her to the island. Her mission is to help Bridget through her crisis and resist the one man she's never been able to, but Felix's sparkling eyes and flirty quips have been replaced with something new, and Lucy's beginning to wonder just how safe her heart truly is. This, to me, the way I remember reading this story is, a lot of the times I feel like it's like this in romances. If you think back about the romances that you read, it's just a lot of two people who clearly love each other getting in their own fucking way the entire story. Which in this book, for some reason, just irks me a little bit more. She keeps her affair or her spark with Felix or their history a secret from Bridget, and Bridget is their best friend, is her best friend, and Felix's sister. I don't like lying, I don't like secrets, I don't like that in books either. Love it for you when you're getting in your own way of your own happiness. I also do that. Everyone does that. That's kind of the whole thing. I think we all do that. But don't tell lies. And don't, like, wiggle your way around things to keep your secrets. has two books. The book before this one was Meet Me at the Lake. And her first one was Every Summer After. Every Summer After is my favorite summer romance. I feel like that one was the least chaotic. It was the most structured within the plot being chaotic, because life is chaotic, But it had a lot more structure, and here I felt like that got kind of lost throughout. Things tied together in the end, but I don't know, she lost me a couple times. But I still think it's a fun story, and you're probably gonna read it anyway, so, if you're really looking for summer romances, I'm assuming at some point you'll pick this up, or one of her other books. But this summer will be different. Let's throw a little DNF into the mix. This was very recent, but I picked up this book by Paolo Cognetti, and it's called The Lovers. And I thought that the cover, first of all, was gorgeous. It was in the new literature pile in my local bookstore, and I was like, The Lovers, it's made for me. I want summer romance, Italy, let's go. So, high in the Italian Alps, the tiny village of Fontana Fredda is wholly in tune with the seasons. Its rhythms appeal deeply to Fausto, who is seeking a break from the pressures of Milan. He takes a job cooking at Babette's trattoria, a refuge to many lost souls before him, and settles into village life. One evening, after their customers have left, Fausto begins talking to Sylvia. Like him, she is searching for something, but her sights are set on the glaciers above them. At once, their story begins. A tender journey of love and dreams, and of lives humbled, renewed, and transcended by the epic strength and beauty of the mountains. And some reviews here are a short novel of affecting elegance, a masterclass in high-altitude atmosphere. Did you hear the fly in my room? I'm sorry. Uncommonly beautiful. But I didn't get into it at all. I think I read about 35 pages, and I just realized that it wasn't for me. The writing style just didn't do it for me. It kind of flips from character to character in the story. After that, I'm sorry, maybe. I just didn't feel it, and it just happens sometimes. I don't have any other reason, but it didn't feel it. It's not for me. Yeah, I don't know. I felt a lot of distance from the characters, and I found myself not really thinking about them, rooting for them. It just wasn't for me, unfortunately. So this is a DNF, like a real DNF. I'm not going to be picking this up again. So this one is going to a new home, and I'm happy with that. If you're European, by the way, I have my Vinted in the link tree in the description box. I have a place where it says socials, where I have my Instagram, etc. I have my Vinted there, and I sell a lot of books that I don't read anymore. So, definitely go check those out, and let me know you're coming from YouTube, and maybe we can work something out, But yeah, so that was that. Then I read a nonfiction that I'm obsessed with. This is going into my top favorites pile, and it is a classic. It's All About Love by Bell Hooks. I never read this one before. I'd heard a lot about it, so I was very it just talks about love in every sense of the word, and what love needs to thrive, and what we need in love to thrive. So I'm going to read a few passages. I know it's taking a while. What I love about what she wrote in the beginning of her book is how everybody wants love, right? Even though through hurt and heartache and displays of lovelessness in families that we maybe grew up in or in society, we still want love and crave love at the end of the day, and that's huge actually, and says a lot about us as humans, but it seems so ignored oftentimes. And I just love this little passage. Everyone wants to know more about love. We want to know what it means to love, what we can do in our everyday lives to love and to be loved. We want to know how to seduce those among us who remain wedded to lovelessness and open the door to their hearts to let love enter. The strength of our desire does not change the power of our cultural uncertainty. Everywhere we learn that love is important, and yet we are bombarded by its failure. In the realm of the political, among the religious, in our families, and in our romantic lives, we see little indication that love informs decisions, strengthens our understanding of community, or keeps us together. This bleak picture in no way alters the nature of our longing. We still hope that love will prevail. We still believe in love's promise. That counts for a lot in my opinion. There are so many people who I've thought of when reading this book who I'd wished would read this. I don't know, it just covers so much ground. Let's see if I can get the chapters. Grace, clarity, justice, honesty, commitment, spirituality, values, greed, community, mutuality, romance, loss, healing, and destiny. If you want a non-fiction about love and you feel like I don't know I would specifically recommend this. I think that if you are maybe struggling in relationships, or you feel a little bit trapped in the way that you are able to give your love or receive love, I feel like this could be a very comforting book to read. I don't know. I really love this, and it sparked a lot of great conversations between me and my friends, my loved ones, about what it means to love, what it means to love a parent. How do you define loving someone? What does that mean to you? How do you know when you love someone? And those are just beautiful conversations to have. It talks a lot about the patriarchy in love and men's dynamic with love, which is also incredibly interesting. I have another book by her on my shelf, which is The Will to Change, which is about masculinity and love, etc. The thing is just with those books, it never reaches the people who I think it would most help. But, you know, that's the way life goes, and I love reading into things like this. So, I really, really recommend it. Going back to fiction on my Kindle, I really, really hope that this fly is not too loud, because I hear it in person and in my earplugs, and I don't know what's happening. Okay, the next book that I read at the end of July, beginning of August, and it is Abby Jimenez, Just for the Summer, which I think is one of the most popular same problem. They come up with a plan. They'll date each other and break up. Their curses will cancel each other's out, and they'll both go on to find the love of their lives. It's a bonkers idea, and it just might work. Emma hasn't planned that her next assignment as a traveling nurse would be in Minnesota, but she and her best friend agree that dating Justin is too good of an opportunity to pass up, especially when they get to rent an adorable cottage on a private island on Lake Minnetonka. It's supposed to be a quick fling just for the summer, but when Emma's toxic mother shows up and Justin has to assume guardianship of his 3 siblings, they're suddenly navigating a lot more than they expected, including catching real feelings for each other. What if this time fate has actually brought the perfect pair together? This is 50-50 a romance and 50-50 navigating incredibly difficult family dynamics. I really don't know what else to say. I think you should really read the trigger warnings on this, or the content warnings on this, before reading it. I thought it was beautiful, and I really enjoyed this story so much, even though it was also ridiculous at times. It's definitely like the most intense of the most intense scenarios that you can imagine, also with the whole curse thing. Obviously it's already kind of bonkers, as it said, but it definitely is bonkers. So be prepared when you go into this, but I hope that you will enjoy it nonetheless. I really like the depth in this story. There are a lot of things that I like that I can't talk about because I will give spoilers, and that's always where these book reviews go wrong for me, because I have much more to say, but I can't. I just think that it was handled beautifully and with a lot of integrity and respect to, I think, I am assuming and hoping, to anyone who has experienced similar situations, they might find a lot of comfort and representation in this book. I don't know, because I have not been in these situations before. However, I've seen a lot of it in my work, my previous work, and it was very recognizable what I was reading, you know what I mean? And I hope you know what I mean. So yeah, I thought that it was done really well, as far as I am able to say. But I would not recommend this if you are just looking for a light summary read. I just mentioned 4 other books that would be better for that purpose. Just do not let that be this one. But if you want something with more substance and you still want the romance, I would recommend it. It's just, honestly, like, where would you put this in a genre? Because I would genuinely not necessarily, I don't know if I find it that fitting as a romance, and a summer romance. That's why I'm so confused and why it became so popular as a summer romance. I get it because the cover is gorgeous and it says summer, but I mean, I don't know, guys. So yeah, that was the books that I read on my Kindle. Oh no, not at all, actually. There's another one that I read on my Kindle, which, for some reason was super cheap on Kindle, and that's why I bought it. It is One Last Summer by Kate Spencer. One Last Summer. And this was a weird story to me. I will immediately say it was like 2 or maybe 3 stars for me. It's now expensive again. I don't know what the sale was. I don't know. A second chance at a summer romance. Pine Lake Camp has always played a central role in Clara Millen's life, first as a kid, then in her late teens as a counselor. Now aged 30, she and her closest friends return every August to help close up the camp for the season. And when burnout and an awful breakup inspire Clara to quit her job, her annual vacation turns into a much-needed escape from reality. But when she arrives, she faces yet another unwelcome change. The owners are retiring and selling Pine Lake. The news turns her plans for revelry into a night of reminiscing and prompts a surprise heart-to-heart between Clara and Mac, her annoyingly handsome childhood nemesis. Soon, the campfire isn't all that's throwing off sparks. I have never read a more wrong description of a book in my life. This is not how the story goes. First of all, it says that Clara has been to Pine Lake Camp as a kid and later as a counselor. The part of her being a counselor there barely mentioned. Now aged 30, she and her closest friends return every August to help close up the camp for the season. I did not know that that was why they came back. She also does not join them every year, and that's kind of the whole thing in the story. Clara has a marketing job that she kind of loves, kind of hates, and she's dealing with burnout. Now, as an expert on that subject, I struggled a lot to read about this because I am, as I've mentioned 1,000,007 times, I'm recovering and I'm kind of out of the tunnel, and to read so intensely about someone going into that tunnel, it is a little bit frustrating. It was not the time for me to read that yet. And also I just think that the plot was not steady at all. It was just very vague, superficial, and then sometimes it would go really far into depth. But the whole point of the story was that she hasn't been back in 5 years. Now she goes back with her friends. And then she finds out it's their last time there, and that kind of sparks the whole reminiscing. They also say, when burnout and an awful breakup inspire Clara to quit her job, she does not quit her job the entire story. But it's just weird to me how they describe it so differently here. And that's just not the way that things take place at all. She doesn't quit before going there at all. She doesn't really know how burnt out she is before going there. It's just, I don't really think that this is worth your money, to be very honest. That's not in any way disrespect to the author. I think it just depends on what you're looking for. If you really want something that doesn't have a lot of depth, it would be this, but then it does go into burnout and everything, so I just feel like there are so many others out there, and I just wished that, I think that I would have liked a little bit more structure in the story and a little bit more of setting the scene properly, getting to know these characters and then diving in, and I felt like we were getting bits and pieces along the way, which has made it very chaotic and hard to grasp sometimes, but that's just my reading experience, and yours may vary. If you read this, definitely let me know what you thought. Maybe you loved it, which I love for you. I wish that I did. And that's the last one I read on my Kindle. I'm currently reading Savor It. I'm not going to talk about it because I'll review it at some point, probably. I think Miss Haley Jean, Mother, has done a review on it, which I skipped because I didn't want to know. But yeah, you should check that one out if you want to hear about it. 6 weeks alone with the gorgeous and very off-limits rock star Theo Elliott. He's the most famous man on the planet. Her life's a disaster, but when it comes to love, Clemmy is learning you should be careful what you wish for. This story was ridiculous and funny and quirky and romantic and slow and sisterhoods. The spell was so funny. Every character was pretty extreme or extravagant. They were characters, you know, and I loved that. This was so silly and fun, and I could not stop reading this. Those are my favorites. Exactly what I wanted. 10 out of 10 would recommend. I just really like the way that this was written. I think it was British. It was very much giving British humor, which I love. There are like things where their sisters give Clemmy advice, and Clemmy's like, it was the best advice I'd ever gotten, which is why I decided to ignore it, you know. I love it when it's just, I don't know, so honest like that. I don't know. I love a bit of self-awareness in these stories. And of course, I love music and songwriting. I also make music and do songwriting as a hobby, so it was fun to read about. So yeah, I would just really recommend this. So these were all of the books that I read this summer so far. Definitely let me know what your favorite summer read was thus far. I don't know when this video will go up. Maybe summer's kind of over. But yeah, anyway, thank you so much for spending this time with me. I didn't get to say it in my last video, but thanks for waiting for me so patiently and for giving me the time to relax